My name is Ed Manthei. I've been a professional electrician for over 35 years in Eastern Washington, doing primarily commercial and industrial electrical work. About 2.5 years ago, I had a personal experience with Arck Blast. I was removing an I-line breaker out of a panel board, and apparently there was an unfused conductor coming off this main lug panel that went up to a voltmeter, and the big conductor that was hooked to this breaker had been rubbing up against that all these years. And when I moved that big conductor, which had a 90 on it, out of the way to get the breaker out, when I moved that conductor, I heard a buzz, and then after that, a major explosion. I was able to get my eyes closed, I think, and my head back a little bit, blew me back on the floor. Next thing I remember, I was standing in the corner and I couldn't see, and my shirt and stuff was on fire, which I didn't even realize at the time, being as I couldn't see. And so I yelled for help, and a fellow electrician came back in the room. Apparently he'd helped me up and left the room and thought I was with him, and he didn't realize that I couldn't see, and came back and got me. They took me outside and put me out with the fire extinguisher, and of course my main concern was I thought I was blind because I couldn't see anything. I was in the hospital approximately 3 weeks the first time, and then they let me go home for a week, and we were still treating my chest and stomach, hoping it would heal on its own. It didn't, so I had to go back, and I was in there another 3 days, and they grafted my stomach. And then I went home, and in another week and a half, all the skin that had healed on my hands, the back of my hands and arms, started to blister. So I went back in for another 3 days. They were trying to figure out what was going on there. Then I went home for approximately 2.5 months and to see if this blistering, sometimes it'll quit. And unfortunately mine didn't. So then I had to go back in and have a 5-hour surgery, taking all this skin off, and then another 5-hour surgery, taking skin off of my legs and putting it on my hands and arms. And then after I recovered from that, the following spring, I had to have this finger removed and the webbing fixed between the fingers. When they graft, the tissue, skin ends up being out over the ends of your fingers, so you have like webbing in there, and they take and remove that and take skin from your side and splice it in there and get rid of that webbing. And then 6 months later, I had to have the end of this finger removed, and the same thing done here, the webbing removed, plus the thumb I had to be relieved because it had healed in tight like that. I couldn't pick up a glass of water or anything. The impact from going through something like this is, and I'll talk about the impact that you don't realize. Fortunately, the medical expenses were covered, but all told, my wife spent 2 months over at the hospital with me. Had to stay in a hotel or facilities when they were available at the hospital. Of course, there was food, all the travel back and forth, all the work she missed, all the work I missed. You know, it's a huge financial impact on you personally, and it impacts your whole family because now they're making trips over to see you. You know, it's just a huge family expense. You know, that's the part, I guess, that you don't realize until you get in a situation like this where you get hurt bad enough to have to merit being in hospital for 2 months. I don't do anything different now than what I've always done. Safety-wise, you know, my advice would be that if you're going to do a project, you know, look at what you got, analyze it, figure out what you're going to need for safety equipment, what you're going to need for meters, what you're going to need to safely complete the project. If you're working on a project and for some reason maybe you don't feel safe with it, maybe somebody you're working with, they think it's okay, but you don't think it's okay. If you're not comfortable, you need to let people know, and somebody needs to take a look at it. I would like everyone to know that it's extremely important that you be careful at all times when you're working around electrical equipment. As much as you can, look for that thing that might be hidden that you can't see, and take all the necessary precautions to prevent something like this from happening to you.